Hey, what's going on, everyone? We are JCub3d. My name is Jason,
I'm Jared.
And I'm John.
and we are three best friends. Decided to, let's make a podcast, and we're gonna just talk whatever we want. This week, we decided to talk about John here, our best friend, our buddy, our athlete, did a marathon in Austin this week, so that's pretty cool. And we had the homework of talking or reading Court of Vows, and we're gonna, talk about that. And then just kind of devolve, or not devolve, go into the
Dang.
upcoming Batman movie, and we'll just go from there. So yeah, hope y'all enjoy.
John's just kind of prepped over here. He's got the shirt and the comic like at his disposal. He's like,
And
all
notes.
right, I'm ready. And
Oh
notes,
shoot!
yeah.
You know what? I was gonna take some notes after I read this the comic itself, because I read that like 2 weeks ago, and hopefully I remember a lot of the stuff that happened. But yeah, before we jump into that, John, how was that marathon this weekend? Like how?
Yes, the audience is waiting to
Yes,
hear how
all
your marathon
27
experience
viewers
went.
from the last episode are dying to know. Like, how did it go, man?
And we're welcome to have them, and we thank them for watching.
Absolutely, we love you.
Yes, before we dive into the comic world, if you ever think about running a marathon, if you ever think about waking up at 4 in the morning to
Nope.
run until 6 in the morning,
Never.
forsaking your loved ones, your dogs, your love of fried, delicious food, I thought it was worth it. It was a little tough, but it was worth. No, it was very tough. I'm not gonna lie. All my injuries came back
Oh no,
to
really?
just let me know that they happened. I think it was mile 14. My foot really started talking to me, and I'm like, okay, you're here. Let's just keep on going. And my pace slowed down. I'm an older runner now. I've been through some things, and I wasn't able to keep the same pace the entire time. And just right off the bat, the Austin course, hill, downhill, hill. I mean, it's just, man, the hill country comes alive there. But around mile 18, my spine started playing the drums, letting me know that it was injured at one point in my life
jeez.
too. And so there I am limping like, oh, come on, I can do this. I made it this far in my And man, I think it was around mile 23, like it really started to hit me. Like, I only have 3.2 miles to go. Like I do this on my easy days. I can do this. And at this time I'm already like limping significantly. Like I look like somebody who just escaped some sort of concentration camp or something. I am making noises. I am, saying words. It's very obvious that I am not in my best shape. And to kick it off, man, this little old guy, he's like gotta be at least 3 times my age. He's just going. I'm like, that's my motivation right there. We passed a guy who's running barefoot. I
What?
passed this woman. I passed this woman. She falls to the ground. I see both of her calves just cramp up.
Ooh, that just
This guy runs off the sideline. He just he was painting with his organs as I.
oh god.
I mean, it's nuts when you're that far into the race and you see what people are going through.
And their
But I'm
bodies
trying
are
to.
just shutting down.
Yeah, they're hitting the wall. They're shutting down everything, and I'm just doing my best trying to encourage everybody while keep maintaining my own pace. Like, come on, guys, we're almost there. We're almost there. And lo and behold, their spirits are still high. I'm like, okay, we're gonna stay with you. No, just walk if you have to. Just don't stop. But man, as I had said, like the course is so hilly. It's around in between mile 25 and 26. When you're going into mile 26, you go downhill 6th Street, and you're in the district, and you take a right on Red River, and it's somewhat flat. You're going between the bars, the concert halls, Stubbs, the Mohawk, and I walked the course that morning. I was like, I remember a hill. There's going to be a last hill here. Where is it? And then you turn on 11th Street towards the Capitol, and there it is. And again, I'm already limping. I'm like, come on, I can do this. I can do this. And everybody's just looking at me because what I'm saying isn't, exactly safe for work. I'm just trying to make it through. But after you get off that hill, like you eventually peak and you go downhill, it's a nice coast to the finish. And man, I just closed my eyes. I just coasted. I saw my mom. She was like, smile, smile.
Mijo, smile.
But man, I closed my eyes. It was like, a scene from Gladiator. You hear all the orchestral music in your ears, and man, it was a very emotional time.
Yeah.
I crossed the line. I did what I set out to do. Finally, it took like 7 years to get to that point, and totally worth it. Totally worth it.
Nice, man.
Now,
Oh, go ahead, Jared.
I was trying to remember, had you ever done a marathon before, or was this your first full
First full timed.
time?
The last time I tried, man, I went for a 22-mile run outside my apartment at the time, but I was getting ready to move out east, and I'd gotten into a car wreck, and that was it for a very long time. Yep.
Dude,
Yeah, I
So
remember that.
it was very emotional. I was
like,
very, very happy to have done it.
I know you prepped a lot before the actual marathon. Like, how much running? I know you would text us, in the mornings when we were all on the text chain. I did my workout for the day, or I did a program shift B or whatever it is. So like, were you pushing yourself pretty hard before the actual marathon, or were you just kind of, all right, 3 miles today, 3 miles this week, 2 miles next week, rest week, stuff like that? Like,
I pushed myself pretty hard up until I think it was 4 or 5 weeks out to the marathon. Usually, most training plans you'll find you're working your way up steadily up into like a pretty high mileage, like up to what was it, 19 miles? I think was my furthest.
geez.
Some plans go further than that, but once you hit a certain peak, you're supposed to hit a there's a term for it, but you just hit like your reserve levels, like you're running to like kind of maintain, but also rest up and build up for that
like-
other peak you're gonna hit.
It's like deloading and lifting. Like you take
Yes.
a deload week. Yeah.
Exactly. That deload lasted for 4 or 5 weeks, and then the race came. But how it all started, I started at I think it was like 2 miles was the first day of training, and then after like 2 months in, there were track workouts incorporated, more strength and conditioning, and still you're building up your mileage steadily, but you're also telling your legs like, hey, there's more than just running that you need to incorporate. You need
Sure.
your joints need to know to bear this pressure. Your muscles need to know, okay, you need to activate this later on when you're more fatigued. And also, nutrition comes into it a lot. I had to do a lot of homework because, like, okay, I can't run a 2 mile or 2 hour marathon like the elite guys. Your body can only maintain glycogen for, I think it's an hour and a half to 2 hours. So after that, you need to start fueling depending on what your body needs. So I had to figure out, okay, my body feels like this at this mileage. I need to know when to get fuel in at that point, at that point, at that point. So come marathon day, I had to, I used the GU gels, GU. I took one 15 minutes before the race. I took one 3 miles in, and like every 3 to 4 miles staggered after that. Didn't take any of the like Gatorade or Noon is what they call it. NUN.
Yeah,
It's like a new,
those, like,
new.
electrolyte tablets.
Yeah, they're good. I just didn't want to mix it with the gels that I was taking. Usually you'll find that if you do take like an electrolyte, kind of like gel or chew, you don't want to mix it with like a sugary drink.
Will
You want to take it
crash?
just with water.
Like, is it a
A lot of
crash
people-
thing or just too?
A lot of people,
Gives you the bowl
The-
goods.
Oh,
yeah, the most common thing is GI issues, but also if it's not coming out that way, it might come up this way.
Oh.
Different things. I didn't want to chance it.
That makes sense. Yeah. No, the most running I ever done was a 5K, which is what, 3.5 miles, I think, tops. 3.2 miles or something like that. It's super low, but that is the most I've ever ran. So I can't even imagine doing a full 26.5 miles. That's a full marathon, right?
26.2.
26.2. Okay. So like the morning of, like, were you super nervous about the marathon itself, or were you like amped up, ready to go, like, oh, I'm going to kill this, I'm going to crush this? Or you're like, oh my God, I have to go to the restroom like 20 times before the start of this. I need to know where every porta potty is, stuff like that.
Twice. It's funny you say that.
You
Now,
don't
I
have
was
to go into
terrified
any
the week of.
nitty-gritty though, by the way. Like, you don't have to go into the dirties if you don't want to, but
No,
like,
it's
Already opened that door.
Yep.
It's already there.
I'll be brief on it. No, I was terrified the weeks coming into it because, again, I'd worked such a long time to get to this point, and it's not an easy thing to take on. Even looking back on it, I'm like, okay, well, if I can do it, anyone can do it. But even still,
Sure.
I was limping. I was hurting. I Other people experience different reactions to pain and how past injuries come up. Mine just happened to all come in on this race. I didn't expect it to. I kind of thought they would, and turns out they did. But again, I think if I could do it, anyone can do it. But it also depends on what you put into your body, the workouts, if they're getting completed. If you don't do the workouts, and your body's really not going to be prepared to take on that distance. But on the funny side, and like more, I guess, upbeat side, the emotion you get when the whole city is out there to like cheer you on is so uplifting.
Oh, I bet.
And and the things that you see, like again, going into the bathroom things, wondering where the porta potties are. Now there are some set up on the course because it happens. It's a long time, and you're putting stuff in your body. It's got to go somewhere. I didn't go anywhere on the course, and so Austin. It's been said that Austin is a 21-year-old kid with beers in his backpack. That's how you describe Austin, Texas, if you've never been there. So what's the funny part is, again, there's not porta potties everywhere. So when you're going into the course, you'll start to see people just jot off to the side of the road. Could be a neighborhood, could be a park, could be a creek, could be a Congress Avenue bridge. And they do their thing.
What you got to do. I've heard of that too. I mean, that's one thing you never really think about when doing marathons is like you're running, your guts are churning and back and forth, and nature's gonna come when it comes. So it's like it's weird that you never think of that when you think of marathons, but that is like something that will happen. And I assume more of those extreme cross country marathons, like something like that is just you just gotta let me hop off the street real quick, I'll be back in about 5 minutes and finish up where I'm going. But that's crazy, man. I'm super proud of you though, dude. Like that is super cool. Like
thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. We definitely are proud of you. I mean, I know Jason said the furthest he's run is a 5K.
3 miles.
I mean, the furthest I run is to the fridge to get a beer. So that's running ain't happening in my life, but you did a great job. We're proud of you.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, guys.
I did want to ask you, what was your highest high, but also your lowest low with this whole experience? And it could have been emotionally, it could have been physically. What was your best point of this process? But I also want to know, what was your worst part of this process?
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
There's a few of the best. Probably the best part was just crossing the finish line. The other part was seeing everybody there, really just congregating together. You don't really know how many new friends you have until you see somebody next to you going through the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now that can be mixed with the best thing and the worst thing, because it was around mile maybe 19 or 20. My foot just couldn't take it anymore. It started just a real slow, hey, remember me? And then it blew up into this, I'm about to break on you and you're going to have to crawl to the finish kind of pain. It was intense. So I started hobbling, and I come around this corner. I'm trying to keep still a good pace, because that's just, I guess, the wolf in me. Hey, I got to get there. I got to get to the finish line. But I'm coming around this bend, and there's this guy who's also limping as well. And I see his foot is really curved in, almost as if his arches had totally fallen. But he just kept going, and at the same time, you're he's going through we have the exact same thing, but he's going through the same pain I am. Yeah. And so I gave him a fist bump, hey man, I'm right there with you. And we're just talking back and forth about what we're having to do, what we did to get here. And eventually the pain, thankfully for me, wore off. I never got to see him at the finish. I just kept going. But I mean, there's scary points there. You're walking and you're out on alone. Hey, you signed up for this. Mm-hmm. You said you were going to do this. You're going to do it. And in my experience, I think failing is probably one of the most scariest things that could ever happen to me. That's what got me through college. That's what got me to my first job, my second job, so on and so forth. Got me through this marathon, along with all the other experience that I had getting to it. So probably the scariest thing was having to stop, but also having the comfortability saying hey, it's okay to stop. You've been through a lot. This is considerable thing. It's okay. Just getting over that was another emotional thing. Okay, it's fine. but eventually the pain wore off. And even though I limped to the finish, I mean, I was still able to get
Yeah,
there.
you can say you did a marathon, dude. I can't
Yeah,
say
you
that.
did it.
Like, I'm never most likely ever going to do a marathon like that myself. So
Same.
you completed a marathon, dude. You should be proud of that fact alone. That's not something everyone can say they can do. So no, man,
Yeah, like you've
that's
got that
pride right
Boston
there.
Marathon finisher shirt over there. Like if I signed up, I would need an
Oh, is that what that
unfinisher
is?
shirt.
Yeah.
Oh, look
Oh,
at you.
hold up. Check out the back.
Ooh, and Under Armour too, huh?
Yeah.
Heyo.
That's actually a pretty cool little shirt, man.
Thanks to Under Armour for the sponsoring and all the goodies they gave us.
Yes.
John
Sorry,
hasn't
goodies
taken
we
the
had to
shirt off
earn.
since Sunday.
No, man,
I earned this shirt. I'm gonna wear the hell out of it.
that's
Oh
super
yeah,
cool.
I'm gonna get it tattooed on me.
Did you have a tattoo right here on your hand, John?
Oh no, that's a note to myself.
I was like, oh, John got a new tattoo.
I'm still immature and I write notes in my hand. You know what is this?
Oh.
Why do I even have this?
I see. You're going old school where you have all this technology, Let me just write something on my wrist real quick.
Old habits, man.
Old habits die hard.
But
Yep.
So with that, Batman Court of Owls.
Yes.
That was my first time, personally. That was my first time reading that comic itself. So,
Same.
like I said, I read that maybe 2 weeks ago, so I don't remember a whole lot of stuff, to be completely honest. I remember certain things, and there's some pretty interesting things, but what did John, you're the one who recommended that to us for this podcast, so I guess, again, we're going to start with you. Like, what made you decide Court of Owls? Like, out of all Batman stuff, Court of Owls.
This was actually during whenever I was injured after my car wreck. It's actually, yeah, this is a really good segue. This is probably one of the first comics I read when I was like hobbling around in my apartment trying to find new things to do when I couldn't run.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept reading, or I was on Snapchat at the time, and I was like on IGN's account, and they kept bringing up the Court of Owls, the new Snyder influenced DC Comics, the new universe they're creating. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give this a shot. And I was a frequenter at Barnes and Noble at the time. And actually, when you got the comic, you got a owl mask along with it. And I tried very hard to find it. I don't have it yet, but when I find it, I'm gonna wear it on this podcast. Because I know it's in here somewhere, amidst all the piles of stuff that I have. But I will find it. But yeah, along with the incentive of what I would get, I heard it was just a really cool story.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I read into it and beyond it, and man, the movies that are coming out now, I just hope that DC makes the right segues into these sorts of things. The more I just appreciate this story.
Mm-hmm.
So, along with social influences, that's what really got me into it. That and just the love of the DC universe and Batman. I mean, hard to find a non-Batman fan out there, but
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in DC. If they can just match what they can do on paper into the movies, man, ooh, you got a deadly combo there.
Yeah. No, and I really, really did enjoy this. Like I said, I have a few Batman comics, but more of the more notable ones like Long Halloween, The Dark Knight, The Killing Joke, stuff like that. So I don't have a whole lot of Batman stuff on my end, so I don't really know a whole lot of the stories for DC in general, really. But I ended up buying a copy of the book itself, and it had a foreword with, I think, with the author of how he, what he brought into, or what he thought of when making that was, what if the city that you think isn't what you think it is? And it kind of evolved into the Court of Owls, and I really was like, oh wow, that's a really cool take on, Batman is, or Gotham is Batman City, but like, what if he wasn't in the know, And it was a really cool to be able to, have Batman be in an element where he is not in control of what's going on around him. Like, there's some things I assume we'll go dive deeper into it, but I was like, holy cow, wow, I've never seen Batman like go into this, or I've never seen Batman, this distraught over something, or, this honed in to try and figure it out. It was really cool to see. What about yourself,
What about you, Jared?
Okay, so I agree with everything that y'all are saying. Kind of like what John was saying, like this comic line and beyond. Like, I texted you guys immediately after I finished it, and my first thought was, wow, what's next?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm online and I'm Googling this whole Court of Owls storyline, and I find that Reddit thread that I had texted y'all, and with the different everything that ties into this story arc. So I read Court of Owls. I read immediately after that, I read Nightwing, Traps and Trapezes, which is kind of what's going on with Dick Grayson at this time, and the ending of that is the ending of Court of Owls. They both end on that same note, with Nightwing and the Batcave finding out who he was supposed to be. We'll get into that more later. And then the next one is Night of Owls, which I downloaded. I'm going to read, and then I just I'm sucked in on this. It I just thought it was fascinating. I want to continue reading this whole story arc. I'm really in on it. It was captivating. I want to know what's next, what's going on. From the beginning, I thought that was one of the best introductions to, I think, a comic that I've ever read. Like, bam, right there, he's in Arkham prison face to face with every big baddie that we know.
Mm-hmm.
And to see the Joker help him escape, and then it turns out it's not even the Joker, it's Dick Grayson.
Oh wow, that's really I was like, hold up, like what? When is I thought it was the actual Joker. When I read, I was like, wow,
I did too.
Joker's actually helping Batman.
Like, wow.
No, this can't be it. And then I see him in the back. I was like, no, this isn't. And then lo and behold, it's Nightwing. I was like, hey man,
it's Dick, yeah.
It's like, why did you leave me in there for like 2 weeks? What the hell?
Yeah, he's like, I thought it was supposed to be this whole quick thing. And Batman's like, I had to be sure. But just starting that comic and just seeing him from the get-go, face to face with like every big baddie in the Batman universe, I was like, it was a great start. Like, it drew you in from the get-go. Was that pertinent to the storyline? No. Was it amazing? Yes.
Yeah.
I loved it. And I was hooked from the opening page. And I think that's huge. There's so many comics out there, and I don't think I've ever read a comic that I haven't finished.
Mm-hmm.
But to just be immediately pulled in with that, it was, like I said, I think it was one of the best introductions in a comic book line that I've read. I was just like, oh, okay, here we go, I'm in it.
So I definitely don't want to spoil anything for you, Jared, especially since you haven't read, I think, all of it. The version of the book I bought, I think, had the entire arc in one collection. So I think I read over like everything in the book that I had. But yeah, man, like, having Batman see that body with just a whole bunch of little throwing knives stuck in him, and then was it an explosion, or was there like some kind of fire saying like Bruce Wayne dies tomorrow or something like that? I don't remember exactly what it was. Again,
on the wall of that body that they
I was
found,
like, holy cow. Like, I feel like there's legitimate stakes for Batman in the series. And again, I haven't read a whole lot of Batman books, but everything I've read, I always feel like Batman is always one step ahead of everyone else that he faces. And in this one, have you gotten, Jared, again, I don't remember where this is in the labyrinth.
For me, the last thing that I saw was Batman finally broke out of the labyrinth.
Okay.
He killed Talon.
Mm-hmm.
It turns out to be Dick's like great grandfather who was reanimated or whatever, and supposedly Dick was supposed to be recruited to be a Talon.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
It's
Cool.
hadn't
So
been
that's
saved.
where you.
That's where it ended for me. That's where the Court of Owls ended, but that's also the Nightwing one that I read. That also ended there. So it kind of has like
Ooh,
Nightwing
I
doing
need
his
to.
own thing during this time. But
Ooh.
then he finds out about the circus and how the circus was basically a recruiting ground
Mm-hmm.
for the Talon, right? That was the
Yep.
recruiting ground, was the circus. So he finds out about that, and that story ends with him in the Batcave getting clobbered by Batman, his tooth popping out or whatever, and Batman Bruce telling him like, you were supposed to be one of these. So both of
Okay.
those comics end at the same place, and then I just started Night of Owls,
Mm-hmm.
which is where Court of Owls also ended, where all of the Talons are just diving off of the building into
Okay.
Gotham
Cool. So
City.
that is where
So
you
that's
are.
where that next, so that's where that next story starts. That's right where I'm at.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, I
Now
won't.
go.
Yeah, I won't
Go
go
and
any.
take Gotham City.
Yeah, I won't go any farther than that. And you
So
know,
you've read further than that?
yeah,
You
I've
know more
read
than
the.
that?
I think I've read the
Okay,
entire
okay.
thing.
Okay.
I did it in like 2
What?
nights. Like I was hooked. What do
You
you?
bought a book with all of it in it?
Yeah, it
So
was
he
That's
one.
amazing.
he probably read what, Court of Owls, Night of Owls, and City of Owls, I would think, right?
I think so. I don't have my iPad with me. I got it off Amazon's, Kindle, like the Kindle version of it. But yeah, the one I have is like 350 pages, and it's the entire thing.
Awesome, man.
But
that
yeah,
name
man.
again is Amazon.
I mean,
They are
it was,
not one of our sponsors.
Yeah, no, we don't have any sponsors. We're not that big. We've had
Yet.
27 views on one video. That's but yeah, man, like
Let's see Jurassic Park Dominion.
hey, we got that when we were at the draft house. I bought that for us.
Yes, we did.
Oh man,
Woo!
if they have another one for the upcoming movie, I'm totally gonna buy it. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked.
Those are my
in the
dogs,
world?
by the way.
What's going on? Is there a little Furby or something?
Your eyes, Jared.
Gizmo.
But yeah, like,
I mean, they don't sound normal when they fight. They're...
it's oh my gosh,
Guys,
that was so weird.
I think it's kind of what you were talking about earlier, though, Jason. Like, Batman, Bruce Wayne, he has this almost like obsessive personality where he's so sure of everything. And he's even having these conversations with Dick. Like, he's like, there is no Court of Owls.
I looked
know
for it.
because
Yeah,
I
I
was
tried
I looked for
finding
them.
it.
I was
I
so
would have known.
Yeah, he's like, I was so certain that they existed and they were behind my parents' murders. And I looked into it when I was a kid and I came up with nothing. Like, I am 100% certain
Yeah,
they're not. Like, they don't exist.
Like-
and he's like, I feel like when 99% of the time, if he says he's certain about something, it's true. And then just for him to be just this thing that he is so 100% confident in, it's like, nope, got you.
Yeah, and that's something I never, like, is Batman like that in other comics as well? Is he that? I wouldn't say stubborn. No, I would
He's
say
arrogant. He's arrogant and stubborn. Yeah, he
like,
is.
This is the first time it really kind of came to front and center that Batman was like, no, I know this isn't true. Believe me, I've looked. Like, I've never really caught that in the other books I have. Like, it's always been more detective-y, well, it could be, I had to look a little bit more into this, but on this, I really felt like he just straight up said, nope, it's not true. None of the stories are real. I was 10 years old. I try and find it myself. As a 10-year-old, I can conclusively declare that the Court of Owls was just hocus pocus. I've never really got that in any of the other comics I read with Batman in anything really. So it was really interesting to see that too.
But do you think that it may have been the fear that made him think and have that superiority mindset? Like, I would have known, guys. There's no way that none of this is going on. If you look at my wall here, explaining all this, so on and so forth.
I don't know. I mean, there's always a thing, I've seen this often, that Batman is his own kind of crazy, with the childhood trauma that he went through, and like he should also be in Arkham. I think that is one of the other comics I have. that is kind of, that sort of theme. But I don't think it was like that in this. I think he thought he knew his city and he didn't, and he was too prideful to realize that he made a mistake and he let something slip by him. I can see you looking at your dogs. Do you need to get your... Oh.
They're fine.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. But yeah, like it was really interesting to see that side of Batman. And then I wanted to bring up, how long was he in that labyrinth? Because from what I could read, it didn't really have like a time frame from what I could tell. Like everyone just thought he was dead, but it doesn't, I couldn't tell if it was, I assume it was done like that on purpose to, give you that sense of, he's been in here way longer than he should be. He was looking emaciated. I mean, he was going
into madness.
Like the only thing he was drinking was water from that one well. So I assume it was a little while, but I couldn't get an actual idea of how long that it felt like in comic time he was in there. And I was like, wow, this is like, is Batman going to die here? That's kind of what I was thinking, because dude, that was some crazy like scenes I was watching, and having him just go through those different like little halls. And was it me? Was he
going
like
crazy?
Yeah,
like
was he going crazy?
Just...
That's yeah, and I was like, wow, this is like, I feel like this is a pretty good match for Batman. I've never seen again Batman get this. Oh shoot, what is the word here? I can't think of the word, but this blindsided with an enemy before, at least from what I've read. So it was really cool.
Yeah, he finally didn't have the upper hand.
I just looked, and the first Google search says he was in there for 8 days.
Oh,
8 days?
That's
okay.
not as long as I thought it was. I thought it was like a couple weeks.
But for someone like him, I mean, like you said, like people don't get the best of him. So if he's like not turning up, like something, and I do think that those were some of my few favorite pages of the comic, was everybody else's adjustment to him being gone,
like dead. Yeah,
like them just kind of trying to figure it out, and Gordon breaking the bat signal, and Damian is just like, turn it back on. And then like I took a note of it, I think my favorite like little panel was where they were trying to figure out what had happened to him, and I think it was Damian and Tim Drake. Is that the other Batman or Robin? Because there's Dick Grayson, it's Tim Drake, and then Damian Wayne, right? Like those are the Robins.
I think so, yeah.
So I think it was Tim and Damian, but like they were like, Damian was like trying to beat up on this guy in like a hospital bed or something, and Tim was just kind of like barely holding him back, but not really, because they were trying to figure out where Bruce was. That was one of my favorite panels. That was one of my favorite segments as a whole, just seeing everybody kind of cope with him, because like Batman doesn't just go MIA. If he's MIA, something's wrong, or he's dead, which I think everybody kind of thought.
Yeah, that's what I got out of, like, everyone just thought he was dead. I want to know where the hell that labyrinth was. Like Batman is in the sewer trying to find something. You see Talon, which I think that is my favorite kind of panel. We got some rowdy dogs. But seeing him,
they need to be heard.
But seeing Batman like looking at something with the stone, and then just seeing those two goggly eyes behind him, and then just like a woof, and that is it. I was like, oh, dude, like this guy is nuts. This is a creepy baddie that he has to face. And they weren't like, they're dead people, right? Like they weren't frozen. They were dead.
I think reanimated is the word.
That's the first word that comes to my mind too, is reanimated.
See, but when I think of reanimated, I think they were dead, like in a grave somewhere, and then they were just pumped with fluids and brought back. Is that, because that is kind of what I thought, but I don't know.
I know that he had kind of explained the science behind it to Dick at the end of the Court of Owls story. I don't remember the specifics behind it.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, I really want to go down this road. So just to divert just a little bit, talking about the reanimation of the owls and the amount of owls that they had at their arsenal at the end of the book, how many they were able to bring back to life. And I'm pretty sure they're like reanimated, but it's what they're using to reanimate. And it comes up again later on down these stories, and it comes up again.
I'm not there yet.
Yeah, no.
It comes up in...
We're not going to spoil anything because, again, I want you to read it for yourself. It's like, we'll do a text.
I was like, we said Court of Owls. I read Court of Owls. I didn't know I was supposed to read all of them yet.
No, that's not on you. I just bought I typed in Court of Owls, and that was the first thing that I found. It was $16, not expensive, not really expensive. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't realize that was the entire arc because, again, never read it before, had no idea what it was about. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then, on the call today, I was like, oh, well, actually, in the text that we were all texting after we were reading it, Jared, you said, oh, man, I can't wait to read Night of Owls. I was like, well, Night of Owls? Did I miss something? And then I go back and look. I was like, oh, shoot. I accidentally read the entire thing.
Yeah, I'm way ahead of you.
And not on purpose, but dude, I can't wait for you to read the rest because there's some epilogue stuff that I read that brings up so much more stuff that I'm not going to spoil for you. But it was so cool seeing the lineage, where this is going. But yeah.
Okay, well, I'm obviously gonna finish it because I'm sucked in, and we will either discuss on another podcast or we'll just discuss out of this, and nobody else will know
continuation.
The end
but
of this.
No one else.
Yeah, nobody else will know.
No one will know.
That's
your
what I really like
thoughts.
about. That's what I really like about the story. Like for me, it was my intro into the New 52, which is where this reboot of the DC universe comes in. Then I started reading the Superman comics and Shazam and Wonder Woman tie-ins and everything, and then the way it boils down to the last one that I'm on right now is Dark Knight's Metal, which is this crazy culmination of all the universes coming together in the Nightmare realm, like surfacing out, and Bruce Wayne is somehow like tied into all this, like he's one of the cruxes into this splitting of the universe and making it all getting destroyed. It's insane. It's nutty. The owls are in it. Yeah, all these little things come up at the end. It keeps you going, man. It keeps you going.
Like I am.
They do.
I'm not well versed in DC. Actually, besides the movies, same with Marvel. I'm not I'm not really well versed in DC comics or Marvel comics. I do have some comics from both kind of major brands or companies, but like those aren't the type of comics I really read. I have a lot more Alan Moore stuff than I do DC stuff on my bookshelf, and nice. I don't know if that says anything about like me as a comic reader. If I go for the more pretentious stuff that people write or what, but yeah, like one thing, like why did Bruce? I don't know what I'm trying to say, but this goes back to, his stubbornness, his arrogance. Like as soon as he gets back from the labyrinth, instead of, resting, he immediately tells Alfred, no, I got to figure out what's going on here. And like, this dude's almost dead. And he's like, I need to study. Leave me alone. Let me go ahead and do this. It's like the Charlie Day looking at like disheveled and crazy with a whole bunch of tacks on a string, board itself. But my goodness, like another thing I noticed, this is a very violent Batman comic. Like I've never seen I've never seen Batman comics get that violent before. I don't know. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've read like The Long Halloween or Dark Knight or stuff like that. So I don't know if those are as violent, but dude, I mean, the first victim you see is a dude with a whole bunch of knives in him. Then it's just, wow. I mean, from there, it just kind of goes even further. Oh, there's an ad around here. But
this one will make you verge onto that same topic, the violence and the route that you're talking about, the grittiness, you know?
Yeah, the grittiness.
This
was
one
a pretty gritty little Batman comic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the New 52, they don't stray away from the dark edge.
Cool.
Well, going back to what you were saying a minute ago about how, he comes out of the labyrinth 8 days later, beat within, just a couple of inches with his life. He should be resting. And he's not. I think it really, to me, I think it comes down to, and it kind of goes back to what you were saying, like there's these conversations, theories, whatever, about how Batman's crazy and should be in Arkham as well.
Mm-hmm.
He's obsessive compulsive.
Yeah, you think?
Like 100%. I think he's obsessive compulsive, and I think that kind of comes into his stubbornness as well, and this whole world's greatest detective, this and that. Like, he makes it almost a point to know everything, to be able to do everything, to be able to beat everyone. He makes it a point to not be able to be one-upped. And he got one-upped, and he's like, I didn't do enough.
Yeah.
I should have been ready for he's got a plan against everybody, villains and heroes alike. He has a contingency plan on how to beat anybody. And he was so sure on this whole persona group not existing, and then they did exist and he beat them. He did not have a contingency plan for them, which is something he has for basically every being in the DC universe.
True. But at the same time, when he's in the labyrinth, like when he faces Talon for that last time, like, also, I kind of got that towards the end, like he was maybe not purposefully staying in there, but he had an agenda towards the end of the labyrinth that he was trying to, and I might be reading that into a, very wrong context, but it felt like at the end, like he knew what he was doing with Talon when he killed him. So I don't know if that is just me overthinking or not. I might have to go back and reread some of those pages just to, see if what I'm saying is making sense or if that is what y'all got out of it as well. But like at the end, his craziness, like I'm saying like a lot in this round or this video.
Taking notes for me.
But yeah, I felt like towards the end, he knew what he was doing in that labyrinth as well. It wasn't him just being lost on, it was more of a purpose thing, and he was waiting to bait out Talon as well. So I don't know if that is what y'all got out of that towards the end of that kind of scene, but that is sort of what I got out of it now that I'm thinking about it as well.
And it could have been, I mean, it could have been shifted from a point of him trying to survive to him trying to gain knowledge. I mean, at the end of the day, he defeated that Talon.
Yeah.
And he got the body, but he wasn't just given the body. The Court of Owls was basically like, oh, he failed us, forget this guy. And at that point, kind of Bruce has the body for research purposes or whatever, But he could have definitely been trying to plan for it, for something along those lines at that point.
Dude, those Court of Owls, those are some ruthless people. Like all the kids, like let the youngest decide what to do with him. Like, oh, kill him. I don't remember what some of those kids were saying to Talon when they were going after Batman. I was like, dude, what did that remind me of? That reminds me, I mean, the Court of Owls are a bunch of elites, right? Like they run the city. They're the high and powerful. Oh God, that makes me think of a movie that kind of had that same type of tone with the Elite or something like that. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but yeah, man, I really did enjoy this comic arc. Dang it, I'm saying like again, but it was really enjoyable.
I'm gonna take a sip every time you say like. No.
Oh God,
that's water.
Dehydrated. I learned something in this comic book though, like actual.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think it's real knowledge. The whole when Bruce was going to all of these Wayne, all of the Wayne buildings, and he was finding the secret layers, right? So I always knew that like 13 was bad luck, and I always knew that the 13th floor was bad luck. And I knew that a lot of buildings didn't have a 13th floor because of, superstition.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What I didn't know, and I'm assuming what I read was actual real knowledge, I always thought that most buildings just went from 12 to 14, right? But like technically the 14th floor is the 13 if they're just skipping a number. But he was talking about how you're supposed to create a fake floor, which is just a smaller section, which is inaccessible, but it's still a real 13th floor, and that kind of houses all of the bad superstitious juju and all that. So I was like, oh, that's very interesting. I thought that a floor was always just skipped a number, but according to Batman, you were actually supposed to build a small inaccessible floor to house all the bad
energy
surroundings that come, the bad energy that comes with
those bad
floor.
vibes.
So I was like, that's interesting to learn.
I will vouch that is a real thing. Back in my technician days, where I had to go in like different hospitals and other buildings around the cities, I started to notice that in the older buildings, and I was wondering, why isn't there a 13th floor? Like, isn't superstition, isn't? And sure enough, the guys that'd be showing me around, that's how it used to be. You don't build a 13th floor because of the bad omens, the bad luck, and all that. Now, sometimes they're used for nowadays they're used for storage and all that. But again, way back when, you do it to house all the bad beings that may be around. Yeah, the energy. So real knowledge.
I thought that was very interesting. And I was like, oh wow, this is real knowledge. Okay, cool.
I'm always surprised by the amount of real world information. Valid real world information is put into comics. Like, you think it's just all fantasy.
I mean, that keeps it grounded, right? Like, if you don't have certain elements of real life, like, it'll be too. And there's nothing wrong with fantastical comics. I mean, those are always enjoyable. Like, I have the first volume of the Fable series. Ooh, excuse me, I don't know what that was. And I mean, that is a bunch of fairy tales pretending to be human beings in the real world. It's fantastical, but it has real grounded things in it as well. And I think that is what makes, comics more accessible. I think that is what brings, you can see yourself in certain scenarios because, they're fighting real things as well. So it makes sense that they would have, something like that in there. I had no idea that was an actual legit thing either. So that is something new from comics that I learned.
Not only did they incorporate that with that real world knowledge in there, but that was actually a really big piece to the storyline, because this whole inaccessible 13th floor that people don't know about ended up turning out to be the secret. Yeah, it ended up being the secret lair for the Court of Owls in every single one of these buildings. So you're taking this real life knowledge and you're making it an integral part in the storyline.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, I don't know. I think this was fairly early on when he's meeting that senator up in the tower by himself. We're talking about
Mark.
I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but we were talking about how it's grounded, and then when that area explodes, and he's talking about fighting Talon himself, and like, my uncle, he built these with 7 different gargoyles overlooking Gotham, and it's like, but no one told told or no one figured out this secret Gotham or a gargoyle that is right here. That only it's like, okay, that is totally a Batman thing to have him Sherlocking his way as he's falling down this tower and say, I landed on my secret one or something like that.
Yeah.
I found that to be very...
gargoyle that was meant to greet people from the sky.
Something like that. It was something like that really just tied in for that scene. But I was like, this is pretty Batman right now. Like, this is pretty comic. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed that. You know, this also will segue into the upcoming Batman movie. Something that I read, it was mainly just a headline, but it was talking about the director, Matt Reeves, how this isn't a Batman origin story. This is a villain's origin story. And I also read a quick headline that Robert Pattinson would love to do a Court of Owls type movie. And depending on how this goes, I mean, if this is going the way that I think the previews for the movie are going, I bet we might be seeing a Court of Owls movie soon. Or not soon, maybe within the next couple years. I think this world... Look at John. I think this world might be enough to set up for something like that. Honestly, like after reading that, I would never have thought so. But looking at the movie, looking at the comic, what Robert Pattinson has said, what Matt Reeves has said that this is about, I could see it happening. I really do.
You or me, Jared?
You're
after that
right
little
now. You're bursting at the seams.
Okay, so here's what I've been psyched about ever since seeing the cast for Black Adam. Now,
Black Adam, huh?
Because Dr. Fate is in there, so is Hawkman.
Don't really know.
So the new 52. You've got the Court of the Owls, and then you've got the new Batman film. Now, from before the spoilers came out, I tried to analyze the trailer, click pause, click pause, click pause, click pause. And he's opening up this card at a detective scene, and it's got, lo and behold, a little owl on the cover.
Did it really?
And he opens it up. Yeah. And he opens it up. I forget what it all says, but I just remember, I didn't really look that far into it. I just know, that's an obvious hint at the Court of the Owls. Mm-hmm. And there's all these previews about hey, we're after Bruce. There's all these parallels between the comic and the movie. That's just one thing that I'm going to be looking out for. Obviously if they pop up or not, if there's going to be a secret society, if there's going to be a well in the movie. Remember that well in the comic. If it's in the movie, then this is all going to make sense to me later on whenever Black Adam comes out. Oh, God, I don't want to spoil anything. But
we'll save it. And no one else will know it but the three of us when we text after Jared finishes.
Our private conversations.
Our text.
Okay.
Thread.
But I'm really hoping, because, all right, we all know the multiverse exists. Flashpoint's coming out. It's already been revealed, hey, he's going to meet all these different versions of himself.
But with that isn't Matt Reeves' Batman. This is for Zack Snyder's Batman that they're revamping or whatever they're doing with the Flash movie.
Right.
But with the multiverse, it could tie everything in.
Just like Tim Burton's Batman.
The multiverse can tie in everything. And this is a completely different something that we're not even going to get into. But this whole multiverse of madness, Doctor Strange stuff, they're talking about X-Men being pulled in, and was that Professor Xavier and the trailer and this and that. Which that's a different rabbit hole that we don't have time for today. But the multiverse opens up any door, so it doesn't matter whose universe it is. The multiverse,
that's true.
It's all fair game.
Yeah, and I really this is all hypothetical. I can't guarantee DC's gonna make any of this happen, but how cool would it be in the new 52? And when you go into Dark Knight's Metal. I keep wanting to say Bat Metal. I'm just going to call it Bat Metal from now on. It's a cool title. You're introduced into the history of Hawkman. And Hawkman, throughout the history of his entire lineage, it's always been revamp. How do we make this character who we want it to be? Mm-hmm. Until we get to Bat Metal. You get this origin of the story of this guy in, ancient times, He's always been a protector, and then he meets, I think, the main baddie in the comic and in the movie. God, what's his name? It's something with the B. Anyway, main
Balto.
bad guy. Nice. um, no, he's trying. He gets cursed, and Hawkman's forever cursed to like relive his life, to save, die, save, die, save, die. Now, Doctor Fate only comes in at a moment of time. He's kind of like the Watcher in Marvel. Like he only comes in at a time of like extreme crisis, like whenever he has to step in, like, hey, something needs to change now, or else everything's gonna get blown into oblivion. Now, why would they bring that big of a character in to Black Adam's movie with Hawkman? It seems like all these different things that match up in the comic are matching up in the movie, which ties in with the Court of Owls and Matt Reeves' new Batman film. And now, how cool would it be if they all tied into one together and we get this all this wrapped up into one glorious multiverse movie that we would love to see? But man, I just keep seeing DC on the big screen kind of like wanting to catch up to Marvel. If they take their time with all of this, I really think it could be something amazing, and I hope they do it.
I mean, we'll have to see, but like I said, I just read some highlights or headlines that said Batman or Rob Pattinson would like to do Court of Owls, and Matt Reeves, this is an origin story for Catwoman, the Riddler, and the Penguin. So yeah, so it could lead into something like that. I think those are some pretty heavy hitters in the Batman universe anyway. So yeah,
And this is my biggest thought about that. I don't really know a lot, honestly, about either of the movies.
Yeah, same
Black
here.
Adam or the Batman. I do know kind of what Jason was saying, that it's more of a villain origin story. I knew that those characters that you mentioned were in it. I saw the casting previews for Black Adam, but I really didn't look into much of it. So everything that you were saying was kind of news to me.
All good.
I had read the same thing that you read, that Robert Pattinson would love to do a Court of Owls type thing. I guess my first thought after having read this comic, and granted you guys have read further than I have, one of the biggest things about this with how the Court of Owls ended was the realization that Dick Grayson was supposed to become a Talon. So how do you have that if there's not a Dick Grayson in the universe? Now, having a Court of Owls type society somewhere in the movies is one thing. Following this storyline, though, it's a completely different thing, because an integral character hasn't even been casted into any of these movies to my knowledge. So how are you going to do that? And like I said, maybe you guys know more than I do, because I haven't read as much as you have.
Not really.
But if Nightwing is supposed to be a Talon prior to Bruce adopting him, and there's no Nightwing in any of these DC universes, if there's not a Dick Grayson, then how do you have the storyline?
I just want to check IMDb to see if anyone's playing Dick Grayson.
I mean,
and it's possible they're keeping it under wraps.
Yeah, they could be keeping it under wraps. That'd be
that would be great.
That'd be a pretty cool. I don't know if DC does after credit scenes or post credit scenes or anything like that. That'd be pretty cool to see. But that is a pretty good point. I mean, you can't just throw in a major plot point like that without having
that was the cliffhanger.
Yeah,
that was the
without
cliffhanger at the
introducing
comic.
That character in a meaningful way for a movie like that. So, good point. And this is supposed to be a younger Bruce Wayne for the movie, so I can see not having. Dick Grayson was
an adopted child.
Yeah, Dick Grayson was Robin Hood before he became Nightwing, right? He was the first Robin Hood.
He was the first. He was the first. It was Dick, and then it was
Tim.
Was it Tim and then Jason, or Jason and then Tim?
I think it was,
because we have Jason? Dick becomes Nightwing. We have Jason gets killed because of Red Hood. We have Tim who becomes Red Robin, right? And then we have
Right.
Damian Wayne, who is currently Robin. But I don't
Yes.
remember if it was Jason and then Tim or Tim and then Jason.
See, I have no idea. Like I said, I don't know Batman
Jason?
or DC lore that way. It would be
I,
cool.
I think it's Jason Todd. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
And then after he gets killed by the Joker,
I mean,
that's when Tim comes in, right?
maybe because as we know so far from the comics, the Court of Owls is secretly.
Did you find something?
He's not on here.
Oh, god dang it, John.
What did
Sorry.
But it would be cool. I mean, the Court of Owls, they secretly run Gotham, right? So maybe it is setting up for something like that. If they do something like that in this movie, it is complete, guess on our parts. I don't think we'll get something like that. It'd be pretty cool if we did, but chances of that something like that happening, I don't see it. It'd be, again, the fan in me would love to see something like that because I've read the comic now. But at the same time, I mean, Batman may not be something that everyone reads that goes to see these movies, so they may not understand or know what's going on with those movies, and that is completely fine. So I don't know if that is something they could do or if they would do, but it would be cool.
There's just so much, man.
Well, time out. John has to go. Oh, is that
we can edit this part out.
is
Pause. Resume.
But yeah, man, I can't wait for you to finish the comic, Jared. It's really cool. It is super good. I'm excited to discuss once you're done reading it. Well, other than that, I think
I'm like, all right, I need to read. Yeah, no, this was a good talk today. I think we got into some deep stuff, and there's obviously more that I need to read into. But this was a good one, man. We were in it.
Shoot, man,
we're only getting started.
Yeah, these
John
hours
was
go by
in
so
it.
quick.
He had to go change his underpants a minute ago.
No, for real. These hours go by so quick. It doesn't feel like we've been talking for an hour. Yeah, it's already 8 o'clock.
It's like we've been talking this long. I stopped watching our YouTube video 30 minutes ago.
I mean, we didn't get into the comic arcs. We'll do that in another one because I would like to know y'all's comics. But I do want to start reading more, comics, more Batman, more DC stuff. So whoever watches these, if you all happen to have comics you would like, I would like some recommendations on comics. John, Jared, if you have anything you want me to read, please let me know. I want to get more into, comics, DC stuff. So,
and I wanted to branch off of what you had said earlier about the comics that you have on your shelf right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's more than DC out there. There's more than Marvel. There's more than Dark Horse, more than Image. The indie comics are a huge thing. If anybody has any recommendations or is, anything that we definitely need to be included in.
I have a comic I recently read, actually two. One of them is about Ed Gein, is What Did Ed Gein Do? It's kind of like an origins on how Ed Gein became Ed Gein, but it's in comic form. It is super interesting to read. And then one I recently finished that was actually pretty sad was called Monsters. The artist took over, I think it was 20 to 30 years to actually complete the comic itself. It is such a good comic, but it is a very sad comic to read itself. I recommend both of those to you. First one is What Has Ed Gein Done? And the other one is called Monsters. So those are my recommendations. Again, I know we've gone over an hour at this point, so we don't have to keep talking. But I would love to see some recommendations in the comments. If y'all want to, throw anything in there, Jared, John, shoot me a text with those. But any last minute or closing thoughts, y'all?
I mean, it's just this comic book world is so wide open, and it doesn't matter, what side of the spectrum you're on, right? I mean, there's so many great Marvel things, and they're just continuing to expand things, and You know, there's already a lot of theories with the new Doctor Strange, what kind of doors that's going to open. But I mean, just you know, the conversations that we just had about Batman and Black Adam. I mean, it's exciting. Like honestly, just to know, like there are just countless options to just get sucked into,
Yeah.
and it's exciting. But like Jason said, it's like not necessarily where do I start because I've been reading comics for a while, but it's like what's next? Like what do I need to dive into next? So, you know, I'm always looking for good recommendations, like Jason said. John, what was that one that you had recommended to me that I got into like a while back, a couple months, a year ago? The death one,
Fear itself.
Fear Itself. Yeah, that one. Like that was a series that I got into, and I was like, let me read the next one. Let me read the next one. Like I love finding these recommendations, and then I just get all in, and it's like I can that one was fantastic.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
I read
even know
that
if I actually
too.
finished that storyline because I think I read like there was like 6 or 7 graphic novels of that one. I don't even know if I in, but it's just I just love. It's exciting to be able to dive into this and be like, all right, I can't wait for the next one. Can't wait for the next one because it's not like movies, it's not like TV, it's not like I have to wait for the next one. The
It's
next
already
one's
there.
already out there.
Yeah.
It's just figuring out, okay, what is my next one though? You know,
Yeah,
you don't
it's
have to wait. The problem isn't waiting. The problem is figuring out where you want to go next because there are
Exactly.
literally almost infinite possibilities.
hmm Yeah, no. I
So
love
yeah, it's
comics.
exciting. I love it.
I remember, I don't want to go on any tangents. We've already gone over an hour, but John, when we were at Corpus, go to Barnes and Nobles and just look at comics for an afternoon. John
I
or
still
Jared,
go.
the first comic I remember buying, I think I got it for you as a birthday gift, honestly, was the Killing Joke or the
Yeah.
Joker comic. I bought one of those for the both of us, for your birthday one year, and God dang, I love comics so much. I want to get,
Hmm.
into some more. There's there's this many, I have nowhere where to start.
There's definitely no shortage of good comics out there.
Yeah,
Like
and
even if you're just looking for great artwork, yeah, you can dive into like some Renaissance themed artwork comics with great writers. You can look at Sunday comics. You can look at like literally chicken scratch 30-page graphic novels, all with great writers. There's so much out there. There's even comics without even words in them. Like one that me and Jason are big fans of are Primal.
oh man,
Made it onto Adult Swim. There's
uh-huh.
no words. Like when you're looking at it, just like with the Godzilla Goes to Hell, or like the Godzilla comics, no words. You just have a feel of what's going on because the illustrations are just that they drive you in. You can
They
Those
listen.
tell
emo
they tell the story.
yeah, the
They tell the story
emotions
exactly.
on this on
Yeah,
pen and paper. Yeah, really good
there's
stuff.
so much you can do with it. It's like going to the movies without having to go to the movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Comic love. Comic love.
Alrighty, y'all. Well, I think
But
that is.
like
Ooh,
Jason, yeah, no, like Jason said, if anybody's actually watching this and if you have any recommendations for what we
please.
need to read next, please drop it in the comics. Like we're not just here telling people what they want to hear because right now it's just the 3 of us. If someone else is watching this and someone else has a recommendation, let us know. We will read it. I
Oh yeah.
promise you
I
that
would
we will
absolutely
read it and
read.
we will discuss it. Um, we want to like this stuff excites us, so we're
Yeah.
definitely open to anything and everything on recommendations.
Alrighty, y'all. Well, in that case, I think this was another great podcast, if we want to call it that. Yeah, podcast. Yeah. And see y'all next time. And I love you and hope y'all have a great night.
Bye everybody, love y'all.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.